welcome to the new episode of the Naked Product. And today I am sitting with somebody I really admire, my friend Tamaghna Basu, somebody who's been in the cybersecurity space for years. And but before I delve deep into it, I think the reason we started this podcast is to basically evangelize AI and product management in different parts of the country, right? Because you've been in the south, you understand that these things are spoken about openly, and there are conferences, seminars happening on these topics, but they're not spoken openly and freely across the country, right? North India being one where I'm actually located right now. So we wanted to evangelize these different topics that nobody speaks on, right? And that is where we thought of bringing in the experts in various fields. And today, I think we are living in an AI-centric era. So the idea was to basically see how AI is changing different landscapes. So we brought in experts to talk about product management. We brought in experts to talk about product strategy. We got somebody who was talking about how the marketing landscape has changed last week. So we also talk about skill development going further. So, but cybersecurity is an important part of artificial intelligence, right? I mean, now that AI products are coming and agents are, we're talking about agents and agentic AI and all those things. I think the cybersecurity part is not spoken about, and I think you have been very vocal about it when we have spoken on the phone. So I thought, why not bring it to the normal diaspora, and unravel this so-called enigma around cybersecurity, which nobody talks about and nobody knows, but it's very important because it's going to affect us in a very big, right? So, but before I do that, here's Tamaghna, like the quintessential cybersecurity. If I may, I don't know much about cybersecurity. I'm like a totally illiterate person in cybersecurity, but let me call him like a white hat hacker, if I may. And there's somebody who has been in this space for a very long time and understands the space, and somebody who has been an activist, if I may use that term. Somebody along the lines of the Indian version of Aaron Schwartz, if I may. But here's the Magna, and uh, just give us a bit of what made you get into cybersecurity, your journey so far, where do you come from, and explain a bit about yours. Thank you.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Saurav, for having me here. And yeah, I think that's very kind of you to put so many good words in one sentence about me. I don't know whether I'm worthy of it or not. I'm just, a
You are,
normal guy, I would
believe
say.
me, you are.
Just trying my luck in cybersecurity and in being a founder and entrepreneur. But yeah, I think uh, one thing I call myself is, and we used to have a group of friends we used to call ourselves, we are never ending learners. So we said that we're not experts, we are learners. We always wanted to learn new things, explore, and that's how we grow in our career. So yeah, I think good to be here. It's super glad that you started this initiative, and I'm so excited that someone like you is driving it. And you have been there. So the reason we got connected is we are very vocal about what we do, right? And we are, unfiltered, like in a way that we believe that what needs to be done needs to be done. So I think that's how we got connected in our similar mindset. So yeah, I think about myself. Yeah, being in the industry for quite some time, more than 2 decades now. I'm a tech guy, so started my career. In fact, I started my career with central government. I used to work for CDAC. I started my career with CDAC, where we were doing security, networking, and stuff like that. So I'm a developer. I started my career as a software developer. Um, but from government, then I moved to industry. Worked on companies like ThoughtWorks, then PayPal, Walmart, PwC, all the large biggies of the world, large brands, enterprises. Um, and and I started as a developer. I've been a developer. I'm still a developer. I love coding. I do coding, and I think the foundation for any engineers, you should be a good coder. That's my personal belief. But then what happened is I was also interested from my college just into cybersecurity. And I think the initial days when we were kids, all interest came from the movies, right? You see those hackers, they're like doing something, they're doing tuck, 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 tuck on keyboard, and something boom opens up. It's like magic. And sometimes now when you see those movies, it feels so stupid. Something like that. So, but anyway, but then that kind of triggered me that what it looks really cool. Wanted to learn about how to break stuff and how to kind of I'll not say hack in a hack way, which is basically the way word people use. how to use it in a way which is nobody thought it can be used. Something like, I mean, that is the thought process when you say hacking. We say that probably the purpose of certain things, be it a software, be it a hardware, be it a device, be it a product, there is a certain way people have envisioned to use that specific solution or product. Our job is to figure out how else that can be used or misused, right? So that is how what hack is about, a jugaad, right? You say that in Hindi. So I was interested. So when I was a developer, I've been developing, various softwares. But while I was doing it, I was so inquisitive about the softwares. I also was able to find loopholes, especially from a security point of view, and which got quite appreciated by the organization, that that while I'm writing code I find out something really critical big, and sometimes it was very mission critical. So that gave me some kind of push in terms of, looks like I have a possibility and I'm able to figure out cybersecurity aspects of computers and softwares and stuff like that. So then somewhere in the mid of my career I decided to switch my career completely, and I said that now I want to be a full form full-fledged cybersecurity expert. And it was, I think, 2008 or 9, something like that. Yeah, so what happens those days, there was not much cybersecurity forum was there, not much people were talking about security, there was no community and stuff like that. So kind of I started joining few online communities where to learn about security and all this thing, and I realized that there is a lot of layers of security. Security looks like a simple word, but if you deep dive, there are so many layers. It touches to the top level application, but if you have to go as level as machine level, network level, TCP protocol, so it needs a lot of study, a lot of knowledge. So I took a break, almost a year. I didn't do anything. I just completely went on studies on my own. Shut my door. I was staying in a one-bedroom apartment. Those days, like just I didn't go used to go out of much. So I just completely studied security day in day out. And then I kind of after a year, I kind of switched my profile in terms of become a cybersecurity expert from an ethical hacker. We call ourselves ethical hacker. When I say ethical hacker, which means we know how to hack, which is in principle illegal, not supposed to do it, but we do it with for an ethical purpose, which is, let's say, with your permission, we will do it for you and we will help you to identify what are the flaws or loopholes is there. So essentially, ethical hacker is a term which is very popular those days. And then from there, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, those are the words, the exercises which kind of coined by the industry, and we are doing. So that's how I started my career. Be a pen tester, be ethical hacker, or offensive security we call it. And that goes to different level. How to break applications, web applications, how to break mobile applications, how to break Wi-Fi, like networks also, like different kind of networks, Wi-Fi network, internet network. What if you are an employee and you, as a being an insider in the company, what kind of damage you can do, like when you have access to internal network, the different kind of level of assessment or breaking of things you can do. So we those things we have learned. Privilege escalation, another thing, like if you are a junior employer, how do you actually escalate your privilege to a level where you can actually become like a top level person and actually do a massive attack and exploitation of an organization. So those things I've learned, did all these things, and through that process also slowly my entrepreneurship kida in my mind also started building up, saying that okay, I've done all of this, now let's try my own luck. So it's been, I think, now 11, 12 years now. I kind of quit my job, started my first venture, which is into similar space, financial cybersecurity, all those things. But instead of working with someone, let's try it out. I'll say it's an ups and down, this is all journey. I'm so great that I've done it because I've learned a lot through that process. It made me also humble, realize, go back to your basics. We did that. And yeah, so it's been 10, 12 years, been my own. Now, right now, I'm a founder, where we do cybersecurity consulting. One side is with consulting, we help, other companies to in security. The other part of my time, I also love to teach, mentor, and so we actually do workshops, trainings. Sometimes we do for corporates paid workshops, sometimes for universities we do pro bono work for students and other things. So mentoring, guidance, and community aspect are other things we do, like training and all this stuff. So consulting, training, and then we're also building our own product on the side also. So yeah, pretty much that's my journey, being a security guy to an entrepreneur, and now mix of everything. And yeah, so yeah, that's how I've been here right now.
Quintessentially, what many people would do in 7 lifetimes is what Tamaghna has been able to achieve in just one lifetime. Right? I mean, very, very rare to find, but I think you've done a lot, incredibly. amazing thing. But for guys who don't know cybersecurity and have been excited uh, by watching these crazy movies, Bollywood movies on cybersecurity and hackers and all that, I don't think it is as jazzy as it's being made to present. There's a lot of hard work, there's a lot of grunt work that one does to understand the vulnerabilities that are there in a particular system. And you have to smash your head against the wall sometimes, and you have to understand and all. So I think that's part of the job. In fact, in a nutshell, it's not a glamorous job, right? It requires a lot of hard work, a lot of patience, and that's what makes it even more exciting for people who love this particular job, right? It's almost as hard as any other job. But I think now that you've been in the space for a while now, right? I mean, between probably decades, right? How do you think this cybersecurity landscape has sort of changed from when you started, and now we are living in an AI-centric era in terms of threats and defense mechanisms and what, right? So, how do you think it?
Yes. So yeah, I think it changed a lot, I would say, right? So uh, a lot of elections happened. Just kidding. So so it's changed because see, I think you need to understand, so when it's a security, right? Security. So okay, if I want to break down, listen, there are mainly two parts. One is a physical security, one is a digital security, right? Physical security about get you security where there will be security guards will be standing in your physical premises, in offices, your buildings and stuff like that. And then the digital security is all about your software, your network, and all those things. So earlier there was a very clear segregation. Those two are quite independent. Physical security was manual, digital security was software. I think the first thing happened is there's converged. There is solutions now people use. Physical security is become software driven, which means now there is no kind of no your digital footprint is actually impacting your physical aspect of your life. So it's that is one thing we see. Now the other thing is about I think things in terms of security earlier days it was more of like and then why security is important because of technology. Like when you have a technology and when there is an adoption, which means a lot of people are using this technology, which means there are a lot of data is coming, and sometimes the data is very sensitive, which you need to protect and you need to make sure this data or this information doesn't go to the wrong hands who can use this data for some malicious purpose. That's where the security comes, right? So what is happening right now is things are moving very fast. Now everything is becoming digital. Our lifestyle became digital, right? From ordering food to even doing our medical checkups to probably visiting doctors to anything and everything is all documented. So which means our entire life is built on digital, right? And that's why security become more important because now security is not about one specific product or solution. Now it becomes across all industry, across all vertical, because now we're talking about the lifestyle of an individual or a person, right? In day-to-day basis, right? So that's why I see that now the spectrum of security has widened. Like we are now actually talking about multiple direction or dimensions of security, which earlier wasn't there. Earlier it was more like listen, let's talk about network, how to secure the network, put some firewalls, put some antivirus and stuff like that. When it's about a product, earlier it is there was not much mobile app there, right? It was only about web applications. Let's talk about web. Web also very native, very primitives, right? So there was just let's say PHP based application and stuff like that. Now you talk about let's say top layer application layer. There's so many diversities there. There's mobile as this, and even in mobile also, if you talk about Android, iOS, there are so many different ways to build that, right? And you can build it with native languages. You can build it with some kind of platform, let's say React JS and other things, also different technologies. So each technology when it's built, to understand this is built by somebody else also, like a human being, right? A person, which means there might be some flaws, right? That's one thing. Second thing is the dependency. All these are connected now. When I say connected, connected in terms of data. Data is being shared and exchanged across multiple applications, and also in terms of product, in terms of libraries. So we call it supply chain, software supply chain, right? So every software is now dependent on some other software in terms of either their libraries being used or their APIs being used or maybe even the data is being shared, which means now there is a security is not a one single module is secured means I'm secure. The entire pipeline has to be secured, and unfortunately, a lot of time you don't have control over the entire pipeline. Maybe you're owning only one part of it, and maybe the other part you're consuming data or sharing data through API to somebody else, and that's owned by some other company or some other organization, and you don't have control over that, unfortunately. So I see in terms of pattern, a lot of time we're seeing the issues where maybe you have put enough effort to secure your infrastructure, your product, your solution, but you're still having threats, having issues because you're dependent on somebody else or some other product or some other library, and that's not secure enough, right? So unfortunately, I would say nowadays we're living in a false sense of security. I would say. So on a lighter note, what I used to say personally that there are two kind of people in this world: people who got hacked, and guess what is the other kind of people?
People that.
One is people who got hacked, and other people who don't know they got hacked.
Oh, wow.
So basically, the way you see it, nobody doesn't matter whether you know or not, your data has already been compromised and all this thing. It's just a matter of time that it might surface or something like that.
Right.
So what I essentially the point I'm trying to say, I think it becomes very challenging now. Number one, in terms of because the surface become we call attack surface has become much wider. Second part is because thanks to AI, obviously, the speed of development and advancement of technology has like exponentially have grown, right? So vibe coding and all this came. So people are building like random things at at a super fast speed without knowing how secure this is gonna be. Number one. Same is even the attackers, even the malicious users also building more innovative, novel kind of attacks, which was not earlier probably visible or probably applicable earlier. Just to give an example, for example, phishing attack. It is an age-old process. Phishing attack, everybody know what is the phishing attack, right? It can be over email, sending a phishing mail. Like you got won some lottery in Nigeria, some prince have kept some $5 million for you and something like that, right? I mean, those days, I know people were still falling prey of that. No, although we used to find it very stupid. I would say, who will actually, believe in that? But actually, people used to believe that. But now let's say, the same attack become much more advanced now. Now it become more personalized. Let's say, what if you get a mail tomorrow from someone you know, and let's say with their voice note, which is actually, let's say my voice saying that, okay, that I'm in trouble and something like that. So make it more believable, more legitimate, right? And because of that, people are falling prey of it, right? So with AI, people are making more personalized, more contextual attacks, which is actually make you believe and fall for that actually. So the attack quality of attack vectors have improved, and also different category of attack also has come right now. So phishing attacks, like probably voice-based phishing and those things, voice cloning, deepfakes, those things wasn't there earlier. So now this is came, right? So now become very challenging to manage the entire security overall. So that's what I see the advancement. It's a very difficult time we're living, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think I've seen enough, Mr. Robert, to understand, what kind of attacks can happen and how it can completely dismantle a country's infrastructure, right? And we have
Right.
grown up on these movies. Um, I remember
So couple of
particularly.
months back, just to add to that, couple of months back, I was actually one of my friend called, and he's a founder, and he lost $300,000 just because of this.
Wow.
So and so phishing attack also, like just to give you a thing, there are different kind of phishing attack category depending on whom you're pretending. So they got on one category where they got a mail from somebody who pretending to be their existing client,
Impersonating somebody.
impersonating their client and saying that um, sorry, not client, this one, their vendor, pretending to be the vendor, saying that we have changed our account number, and obviously, instead of don't send me or from this month onwards, send money to this new account or something like that. And they've targeted very precisely. They figured it out, who's the person responsible in the finance to actually handle this specific account and send that to that person only, right? And also they make it so legit. They actually made like in CC an email address, which if you don't pay attention, looks like the mail address of the CEO of the company. So actually try to make it more believable, right? And as a result, actually, unfortunately, they have lost some money, and this happened. So all this happened, and when we look at the we call modus operandi, right? Modus operandi, pretty much it looks like, obviously, you have to be really creative, super creative, to come up with such a very personalized attack, which has, let's say, almost 100% success rate. Or obviously, probably you have taken help of AI to actually come up with this kind of strategies to actually do this. So yeah, this is happening. This is how it is.
Right. Now you spoke about AI, and I have like a bunch of questions, but I'm actually going to amalgamate all those questions and talk a bit about,
Mhm.
ask you just one question so that, in the interest of time. So ever since generative AI came, right, these models came, these large language models came, which were seemingly powerful, and we do
Mhm.
something called a prompt and a context window. You can enter something in that, and it kind of gives you output tokens, the predict tokens, and everything. And then I think, as organically speaking, they moved to people building wrappers on top of these models, right, which enable people to do a certain thing. And the next set of was when the native agents appeared, right, sometime
Right.
in the last leg of 2023, and people started seeing these
Mhm.
agents which could basically sit on top of model and do a few things for them, right, solve a few use cases. And then now, between then and now, we are moving towards agentic AI, which is nothing but an ecosystem of agents, right? Where agents are going to connect, communicate in order to achieve a task. And they're intelligent enough to understand how the task is being done. They can break it down into smaller parts. They can basically take the help of the model as and when required. They can use
Mhm.
memory. They can use APIs to connect with different things. But essentially, they are
Mhm.
capable of doing your job, come what,
Mhm.
right? Now,
Mhm.
in this AI era, we are hearing a lot about prompt injections. We are hearing a lot about terms that AI could basically be used to take your data. There's a lot of stuff happening on the dark web where the AI is basically being used.
Mhm.
The generative AI models are being used to basically kind of get data about customers who are there on certain sites and all, because it's trap sites and all those things. So a lot of confusion ever since these models came, and it came in the hands of normal consumers, people like me.
Right.
Bunch of other people
Yes.
started using it on their mobiles and everything.
Yes.
We
Yes.
have not really understood the security aspect. Right? We don't understand while we are fiddling
Mhm.
with these prompts and with these models. We really don't
Mhm.
understand how safe it is, because, like, I was reading the article the other day where someone said that when you sign in with your email, let's say you
Right.
your Google email or something, the model gets access to all the emails that you have, and you might actually have secure email that you don't want to show it to somebody, some secure data or something. How safe is that data? We don't know. Neither the model companies tell us. Then we won't have the likes of the ChatGPT or OpenAI or maybe
Right.
Copy coming back and telling us that, hey, you know what, we have access to your email, just like Google email did when it started, that you enter. But
Mhm.
no, they used to scan your mail. But nobody really knows the picture behind, right? I mean, we are
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
sort of abstracted
Mhm.
from what is really happening behind it. Is it really safe
Right.
for us to share whatever we are sharing? How safe is our current data if we are using email? So there's a lot of questions that pops out in everyone's mind, and you as a cybersecurity expert, I want you to basically answer and dispel and demystify, dispel the myth and demystify this particular cybersecurity aspect of it. Everybody, like people like me, including, are oblivious, right?
Mhm. 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 So see, I think this is a very, I mean, I'd say this is a never-ending discussion. Okay, how secure is this? Because I've seen two school of thoughts. When people are checking about security, people the other. So either you are on this side of the list, you are AI company, you are asking for data, or you're the other side, as you say, someone like us who are questioning, are you secure? So if you talk from the AI company, they say that, look, you're already sharing data with Google, or you're sharing your data with Facebook, Instagram. You don't know what they're doing with your data. And anyway, they are selling your data somewhere else. And that's how you get all the ads and all this thing. So you're okay with that. Then why you're bothered about this? I mean, that's the question they ask. And sometimes I think, oh, yeah, you know what, it makes sense. Yeah. It's just because they're Google. We have some, because of the brand, we're trusting them and we don't know. And because I'm small, I know you're not trusting us. And so there is uh, I mean, how should I put it? There is a basically, sometimes it is also depending on the brand value. Like, people actually trust the brand because they're big, and there is no way you can escape that. Anyway, they're capturing the data. But having said that, I also agree that, yeah, so I said that, what, I cannot live without Google. Listen, I have to do it. So there is no escape for that for now. But I have a choice of whether I can use your solution or not. So why should I use a solution? Because, if you are asking me to give you access to my email and I don't know what you're doing, so you have to prove me that because I have a choice here, right? Until you become a Google and tomorrow it mandates that, you launch your phone and then it becomes so popular that, I have to get your phone and use it, right? So that way, I see this is a never-ending discussion. This argument is going on. People are trying to solve it in terms of saying that we're ISO compliant, we're GDPR compliant. They're trying to play the compliance angle of it, saying that, if you don't trust me, trust the industry standard of compliance and all this thing. And I mean, in my opinion, compliance is good, but that doesn't always 100% assure that, you're always secure, right? There are companies who have a data breach, although they are so much compliance and all this thing. You never know, right? There could be a 0 day also at times. So essentially, coming back to this question, I think first part is I'll break it in two parts. One is the base model, one is a wrapper, as you said, right? There's base model, there's wrappers, there's agent, and I think you haven't touched upon the MCP aspect. That's another Pandora's box, right?
Please do, please do.
Which is basically you're giving access to agent to any and every kind of data you have, let's say to your CRMs, to your private keys, and probably API keys and all this thing. So the first thing is let's talk about before talk about base model. Let's say ChatGPT is one of the most popular example, right? They have created this category of, let's say, LLMs itself in a way. People are using it left, right, and center. I mean, they have built this app, and people are asking for personal advices, all this thing. You can take a picture on your mobile and simply upload through your mobile through their app and all this thing. And there's like so much of data they're capturing, and you have no idea what's happening with the data, right, behind the scene. And which is a quite scary thing because I think the value prop is so compelling. People actually compromising on the security without knowing it. So it's always comes down to the lack of knowledge and understanding that why should I worry about security, right?
Right.
Because people haven't seen that big, the impact of it yet, I would say, right? Now there are some situations where I think early days of OpenAI, they had jailbreaking happen. People, there are a lot of incidents of actually people ask for Microsoft, let's say Windows keys, and ChatGPT actually kind of gave it that. And now whether there's hallucination or whether it's actually real API keys, that's a different discussion. I don't know, but there are some kind of those things happen. Uh, there are also kind of controversies where there are intellectual property data, and they say that this data is being used to kind of train the GPT models. So essentially, without when you're actually if you're using something for free, you are the product, right? That's exactly is happening here, right? You are actually sharing your data, which helping them to make the model more mature, which means this data is being consumed behind the scene. Now the question is, whether this data is getting leaked or not. You don't have any idea, nor we have any idea, nor they are publishing about data safety standards and all those things. Now, having said that, people are talking about it. That's why certain compliance is coming for AI governance. There is NIST have published AI Risk Management Framework, AIRMF is called. In Europe, there is an AI Act is coming, AI Governance Act, where what they say that you have to kind of prove that from data quality that you have trained AI with the right kind of data so that the AI model is not biased or hallucination is happening. Second is that whenever the inference is coming, you have to do a verifiability also. You have to prove that all this is, and then the security aspect. You have done third-party audits, you have done proper audit, and submit the report that this has been there. So these things are people are talking about it, but not fully implemented. Nor people are actually willing to do it because without doing it, people are focusing on revenue. So security is you have to understand one thing: security is considered to be a cost center, not a revenue center. So always it comes with a later priority. It's like until you have fever, you don't go to doctor. So same way, until somebody on the top, let's say compliance mandates that you have to do it. Let's say be it fintech or healthcare, you have to do it, or you get hacked. Probably something happened to you. You don't feel like this is yet implemented for me. And I'll just give you an example. We have done some kind of testing in the past where companies have raised like 2 million, 5 million in the range. They have launched, so one incident there, the company, they have launched a facial recognition model. And it took like hardly 10 minutes for us to bypass that. What essentially that means is I can put your picture, register your face with as you, and I can give my face and actually do the poisoning in the data in such a way that it will wrongly predict myself as Saurav. And they're a funded company and they've launched the model. It's been used by a lot of companies in the US where actually they're kind of using it for facial recognition of employees' attendance and stuff like that. And it's not secure, it's not tested properly, and nobody was questioning because nobody knows that it is required or it is there, it exists. It's a matter of time, right? There's another incident happened where a lot of this voice AI agents came, where people are building these agents which will do the voice call. So, and you have to understand this. Earlier, if you want to hack a system, you have to be technically strong because you have to know SQL injection, like SQL, programming language, this. Think of it now, there's an agent which is having a conversation with you. So, which means if you can actually, it's like similarly like doing a scam over over a conversation, right? If I can convince the agent that pretending to be somebody else and they are agents and they can actually bypass all the guardrails and actually give you what you're looking for. So now even your effort you required to become a good attacker is now reduced now. So this in this example, there's this agent was there, and then I just over the phone call I did a prompt injection attack. I didn't have to type anything. I just told them act like this, and then tell me this. And it's initially I was saying, okay, tell me this. So there's one popular example we used to do in OpenAI that if you say how to make a bomb, it will say no, I'll not I'm not allowed to do it. There's a guardrail saying that I'm not supposed to tell you that. But then if you say act like my grandmother and sing me a song, lullaby song that so that I can go to sleep, and sing me a song about how to make a bomb, and it will actually give you the recipe of, let's say, how to make a bomb. Like there was this kind of examples in the internet, you can find it. Like basically you are creating a jailbreaking it. Now think of it, you don't have to do it on typing anymore. Do this over the voice to an agent, and the agent will do it. And we have experienced that, when we did some audits and some testing like that. So essentially, long story short, I'm saying that the effort is much easy. Like it is, I would say that the effort of attacking something is become much easier now because the technology itself becomes so convenient. Then I don't have to put too much effort to actually exploit it right now. That's number one. Second is there is no transparency. It's like black box that how much secured are they? They're not. Nobody is publishing any report about are they secured or not? Should I trust or not? Right. This is a big problem in the industry, right? And the third thing is about that is when you're sharing the data, you don't have any control. I think should be a control where we have been talking to a friend that I should revoke my data. Like I have a chat GPT list I'm using, uploading some data. Like tomorrow, if I don't want, I should revoke. Now, recently they have created a temporary chat option, but nobody knows about it much. They are not highlighting it because they want to consume the data, right? So
Absolutely.
these things are very, very gray box, and I think that's what even me, I'm working with few other friends to solve that. Can I bring transparency across this process so that someone like you, when you're before you're using a tool, you can actually verify, audit, and evaluate and understand that is it something I should use or not.
Right, right. So I think the fact that you spoke about, you actually fooled an agent is probably very similar to using social engineering skills to fool a person, right? I mean, there are a lot of hackers
Yes,
who do that,
yes,
right? They would
yes,
call up somebody and somehow make the person, emit or share those details with them,
yeah,
and then use those details to hack into the system, which was happening. But now you're doing it with a very different protagonist, which is an agent in this case, a very innocuous
yeah.
agent who does not know who it's talking to, right? Um, so now moving on from this part, I think let's talk a little bit about again a very controversial topic called innovation, right? So product and innovation, my
Okay.
favorite topic. I've always been talking about it. I've always been emphasizing the importance of innovation in our country and importance of innovation in an ecosystem and everything. So after the AI era, or let's say post 2022, since the Gen AI explosion took place, um, what kind of innovation are we seeing in the cybersecurity industry? Are we moving towards like security agents, just like the agents we have? Are we autonomous security agents or something like
Mhm.
that? What have you seen
Mhm.
so far in this last 3 years in terms of innovation in the cybersecurity industry post the advent of
Yes.
Gen AI?
Yeah. So I think, yeah, this is a very, very good question. So there are very interesting things I'm seeing. One is adoption of Gen AI to build security solution, which is, let's say, this is everywhere happening. Vibe coding. Let's talk about vibe coding. Like, even
Right.
at the end of the day, when let's say if I'm building a security product, I still have engineers or developers who are using it.
So for
Now,
folks
there
who do
is
not know vibe coding, I think Tamanna is going to explain what vibe coding is in a line.
okay. So vibe coding is basically, I will not, I'm a developer, but instead of me writing the code, I will have an AI agent which is integrated to my, let's say, developer, like a IDE, developer editor. And then I'll just tell the agent, AI agent to tell that, give me a front end application which looks like, let's say, Swiggy. And it will write the code and create that application for me. So the benefit of that is actually, what could have taken me 3 days, I can do it in 30 minutes right now. But at the same time, that's exactly the problem is because it just spits out random code. Something as a experienced coder, I feel could have done in probably 10 lines of code. It writes say 300 lines of code for that, right? So just to make it look perfect or whatever it is nonsense. So, but it solves the purpose. So I think idea, if you want to really build some quick prototype, I still feel is good. But consider this like they're like agents, they're like interns, they're like freshers like think of it like a very inexperienced developer. So you cannot trust them to build something really massive, really big. Now people are using it. So in security world, I think one thing is very important, and we do it because security is also evolving really fast. Because as technology is evolving, right, we have to security also needs to catch up. So quick prototyping is one thing which is always was a challenge for us, right? And we call it POCs. If I find the attack or exploit less POC to show that it is possible. One. Second is I have to show you the impact because I have to sell it to you saying that you need to fix it. Right. So a lot of time, security is also about the right kind of creating the right kind of demo, right kind of prototype, right kind of presentation. Because as I said, a lot of time the management or leadership or the cost center say that why should I spend extra money on this? Because I have other priorities and this is the cost, right? So quick prototyping is one area I see, people are using it. Security, this one, like coding. People are building also security co-pilots, like how vibe coding helps you to write code. People are also creating security agents, which can probably work along with you. So there's a company, a friend of mine, who have built something called security pen test co-pilot. So the idea is you become a hacker, like a pen tester who does the security, and this pilot can actually, it's like an agent, an intern sitting with you, guiding you in terms of basic things that okay, figuring out what needs to be done and all those things. And while you're focusing on the more challenging stuff, the smaller things you can give it to, like a port scanning, cyber fingerprinting. You can do those kind of things to this agent. So these are the things happening. Third thing is, I think one of the big area of security is anomaly detection. So any SOC, security operations center, or firewall, and this kind of antivirus is what is this? It's about detecting malicious softwares or malicious traffic and stuff like that. So earlier there used to be a rule based, and there was human people used to look into those, and even frauds, financial fraud. There's a fraud risk team used to be there in banks and others, for hundreds of people looking into the transaction. So most of you probably have seen, you after you do some kind of transaction, sometimes you get a call from bank, automated call saying that there is a transaction happened. Press one to confirm, press two to decline and stuff like that. So all this earlier used to be a manual process. Someone as an analyst sitting there, selecting this and flagging it as a fraud or not. So all this can be automated. So outlier detection, anomaly detection is one area where extensively AI being used now, where that becomes automated. So it's scaled up. That performance, this thing is scaled up. So that way I see there's a lot of implementation happened. And last but not least, very interesting. Now security agents are competing with each other. Think of it like two hackers. Now saying this hacker is saying that okay, I'm gonna find bugs. This hacker is saying I'm gonna find more bugs than you. So there is also kind of a competition angle. Also, people are kind of doing it to figure it out which one is better. There are agents people are building which automatically, you push your code in GitHub, it will automatically scan the code, find the loopholes in the code. It will automatically do a fix of the code and push the code back into the repository. So all this kind of new trend is happening, which is good, but which is scary as well because now who will do the code analysis? I think as a human, it increases my work. Earlier, probably I was looking at 110 lines of code which Saurav has written. Now I have to look into 100 lines of code which an agent has written to review see is good or not.
Right, right. Now, forgive me for asking this very stupidly innocuous question, but what comes
Mhm.
to my mind is that I remember an era because I started as a developer myself and coded for like the next
Mhm.
13 years. But in those ages, some 20 years back or so, we would have cases of patent infringement, right? Which basically meant that somebody has written a piece of code and there is some other organization that used it somehow, and that there was an ongoing battle between two software behemoths.
Right.
It lasted for
Yes.
many years, and then finally one party won, and we heard all these kind of
Mm.
cases back
Mm.
then. But now a new different scenario is coming where maybe you are vibe coding. Now, when the model is trained, it's basically trained on any kind of data, right? A data that is
Right.
available, it could be code written on GitHub, it could be, any
Yeah.
kind of code or whatever. So whatever it is
Mm.
churning out, the output tokens it is churning out in terms of code could actually be patented material, you know, which is
Yes.
there, with the company. So is first of all, is that a likelihood that something like the code generated could actually be patented and safeguarded by an organization, and you could actually be penalized for using that? Number one. Number two, how do you avoid that situation? Because you, as a programmer sitting on a cursor, sitting atop a model, you know, is basically generating and churning out content. So maybe there is a reasonable amount of reasoning available and all that, so output tokens are being consumed, and it basically generates the code that you're
Mm.
basically looking for. But maybe that piece of code is part of some patent,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Which has been done by some company. So first of all, does
Mm.
this question make sense? Is that a possibility even?
It is, it is, it is, it is. So I don't know if you're aware of, there was already some incident, I read somewhere, quite some time back that not in code, but people were writing books using AI, right? And there was an issue in the US where I think the legal structure, the court and all this saying that you cannot own a copyright of this because this book is not written by you. Um, I think the text or the images, one of this, I don't remember exactly, but they say that because it's been generated by AI, not by you, as a person, although you are the author of this book, this some part of this content, you cannot have copyright on that. So there was something like that. Now, same analogy can be there for the code as well. Now, uh, the problem here is, I think this is what I'm saying. It's still a black box. Nobody knows. This will be big, or this will become a problem when the verifiability aspect, the transparency aspect will trigger in, which means there is a way if I can kind of whatever the code is generated or the inference, right? If I can trace it back to what data which was used to train the model is impacting this result, right? If there is a way that correlation can be established, right? So that is where I think then lot of this thing will come as a challenge. I'm not a right person. I don't know the answer to be honest in this, but I see there could be a possibility because at the end of the day, again, and I feel again, I'm very confused on that. That who will own the accountability of it, right? So is it like because I am now building my software and I use, let's say, I don't know, I'm just saying Lovable, and I build this or Cloud Code and I build my thing. Is it I will be sued for that, or is it because it's not me, but because I trusted this tool and this tool have generated the code? Is it the Claude or someone of the world, LLMs of the world? They will be held accountable, right? So those there are a lot of gray area right now today, I believe. Uh, but there's a high possibility this can happen, is what is my personal belief.
Yeah, because typically in a transformer architecture, what is essentially happening is that the data is already there, right? I mean, all you're
Yes.
doing is through a softmax function or any function, you're associating a probability to all this
Yes.
data, right? And the one
Yes.
which has the highest probability is something that you're generating as an output token and
Yes.
displaying it to the
Yes.
user, right? And you're optimizing on top
Yes.
of it based on the user's input.
Right.
So
True.
this data that you're exhibiting could very well be part of a specific patent that somebody said that this
Yeah.
technology is mine. I have
Correct.
made it, I have
Correct.
built it, I am the sole authority over this technology, right? So I think
Yes.
so the part where you say that this is a black box or a gray area, I think it's correct because nobody's talking about it. Nobody has an adequate sense of what is going to happen because this vibe
So
coding.
the two problems. Nobody is talking about it. We need to understand why nobody is talking about it. Is it a problem someone wants to solve or not? Right. So I am using the platform and I'm paying $20 per month and I'm getting, let's say, $20,000 worth of benefit. Like instead of hiring a developer, into working like a three developer. Do I really want to solve it? Do I really want to know that where is it? Because then if that happens, now I will be really worried that, so it's like a lot of time things I don't know, and I don't want to know. I think we're playing in that area right now that maybe this problem they don't want to solve. Now, the other side of it, let's say I have built a code base, I have published open source it, and I want to make sure that my code, let's say I'm not giving a license to you use for free. And I wanted to make sure that, any of they're using it. The problem for me is there a tool there where I can do this check and figure it out, okay? Is there any tool or any solution where this has been used or misused? And I can actually prove this as a evidence and actually submit it, and so that, without my permission is being used. Even that kind of solution is not doesn't exist today. So
Right.
that's what I'm saying. It's a supply chain of origin of data, proof of origin, the data, and then proof of validation, which is the data, is the right data being used to train the model. And once the model is been built, is basically, is this model is biased or hallucination? Are this model perfect enough to actually use it or not, right? I'll give you another example. And I was talking to a friend now, medical trials, clinical trials, which used to take 10 years, 5 years, 10 years to kind of build a new medicine. And now there is also kind of, thanks to AI and all this, people are saying now within a year or 2 years, new medicines will be coming to the market. And this is like super scary fact for me, because now you're saying that, a 10 years worth of process, which goes through multiple stages of trial, evaluation, from animals to humans to all these things, looking at side. You're saying a lot of this can be simulated, and we have an AI which trained, and I'm not an expert of healthcare, but also I'm hearing that that will actually expedite and give you the right kind of thing. Now think of it, if that model is trained with not the right kind of data, if the model is biased, which gives you the biased predictions that can go right or wrong either direction. Now we'll have a real world impact. We're talking about medicines, which is like the basics of every entire world, right? So if that happens, who is verifying and who is validating, and how we're proving that, okay, this entire supply chain is actually very transparent to the common people. Because if that doesn't happen, I don't think we should do this, because it's a basic morality, basic, accountability should be there. I mean, that's my belief.
No, I think
Whether people want to solve or not, I don't know. But this is something I personally, just to give you an idea, I feel very passionate, and I'm also working critically on that to see, is there something I or someone like me and as a tech guys we can contribute and create more transparency, around that.
no, I think there is a slight nuance to that. The point that you raised, the nuance is that Moderna was probably the first organization to use machine learning algorithms to predict what the
Mm,
vaccine will look like. I mean, this was pretty much in the middle of 2020
mm,
when the pandemic was, on full-blown pandemic. I
mm,
think the entire world is kind of shut down. Everybody's working from home, and also they were the first organization that invested in data, creating data lakes and data repositories and machine learning
right.
algorithm models. But I think what is in the pharmaceutical field, because I've spoken with a few people in healthcare,
Mm,
and I think your point is right to a certain extent. In
mm,
order to
mm,
predict a medicine, you will definitely use a
mm,
prediction algorithm, which will basically come up with this is the
mm,
medicine. So that part is to take
mm,
ages for people to come up,
mm,
right?
right.
But the other part is that they will not blindly inject it into people or give it to people start using. So that entire validation process or the
Mm,
clinical trials, that will still take the same amount of time. So if they were but
okay.
but part where they should take 6 7 years to come up with a medicine, that has been compressed to, let's say, an hour or two or maybe a day or whatever, right?
So
But we
basically the
will again go
simulations
with the
of it,
clinical
the
trials part
software
where
simulations aspect.
that will again happen. The
Okay.
clinical trial, they will basically, start with animals and then kind of move to, the top of the food
Mm,
chain and, start having human trials, experimental basis. And
okay.
that is how it will anyways happen. But
Got it.
but velocity of developing, that is so high
Mm.
today that, the time to develop is cut down drastically to maybe a week or whatever, right? For a
Yeah,
particular.
but that's what I'm saying. The point I'm trying to make, when you're talking about, we call it, like personally, in my opinion, I'm calling it as a mission critical or something very highly sensitive and impactful, use cases. And we're adapting AI models there, do you, how, obviously, I know every company is doing their best to figure out, is this properly trained, or, does it have this kind of nuance security problems or not? But do you have proof where you can convince or you can actually tell that, we have done enough? Is this verifiability there or not? So we're a little deviating from the questions, but the question is like, is this when data has been trained, as you said, does it come with the right source or right kind of information? It's just, a lot of time, I think I, based on my experience, the model fails because, it's not trained with enough kind of data. And especially in security, I've seen those kind of wrong predictions happening. As I say, facial recognition gone wrong. There is incidents of fraud. People actually got penalized because they have wrongly predicted as they have committed frauds. I know there are a lot of incidents like that happen. So all this I see because of the model inference is wrong, right? So that's what I'm saying.
I think there is also a shortage of data in terms of there's a shortage of data and there's also a lack of diversity in terms of data, right? I mean,
Yes,
I
yes.
remember I remember reading a book where they had mentioned that many years back, many moons back, was discovered by a researcher inside Google who was subsequently fired by Google, writing a very controversial paper. But because most of the data today belongs to the
Mm,
Western world, right? And
yeah,
you have a
yeah.
lot of, we call it basically white data, right? A lot of data is white data.
Mm,
A lot of data,
mm.
Asia, in Asian countries and
Right,
Sub-Saharan Africa and a lot of other places, you do not really have data, right? So what
right.
happens is that if the model coming out from America is trained on data belonging to the Western world, which basically comprises of white people, it will always try to predict something with bias, right? So what happens is that Google, it was discovered that many moons back that when you go to Google search and you basically look for a human being, it will basically
Mm-hmm.
show a white person, right, as a human being.
Yep, yep.
But when you basically look for an African American or a Negro or something like that, if you type in those things, it would basically link it to a gorilla, right? Because the model understands that only white people are human, right? Anything that is
Yes,
not
yes.
human is supposedly a gorilla.
Mm.
So in the primate category, you would basically link it to a gorilla, saying that this African American basically means that it's gorilla. So they had to optimize it, and then there was a lot of
Mm.
controversy around it. But these models are not perfect, as we are going
Right.
to realize it. There is definitely
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
flaws. We still don't understand the process of
Yeah,
explainability, how this neural network works inside it, and all.
correct.
People are
Yes.
talking about
So
it.
there's one, yeah. Sorry, there is one more attack that just came to my mind, which is called adversarial patches. We used to do so autonomous car, right? So all this
Right, right,
autonomous car, you kind of has this cameras, and I like it's already launched. China, San Francisco, I see it's been there. You can book a. It's pretty funny. You can book a car will come, and it's like Uber, but there's no driver. I was very scared of getting it. I was very tempted, but I was scared. But the idea is so there was incident where. There are a lot of some machine learning engineer they have created what we call adversarial patch. It's like a sticker which looks like a QR code, and let's say you print it out, which is basically filled with enough noise to the data, and you just put it on your T-shirt, and you stand on the let's say on the street. If a vehicle is coming, they will treat like they will confuse you. Instead of human, you will be treated as a lamppost, or you'll be treated if you're standing let's say on the side, it will treat as a speed breaker, so it will actually turn somewhere else. So these are called adversarial patch. Okay, there's very popular use cases was there like that. So and as a result of they tried it in some places. Okay, there is something also called adversarial patch which will bypass facial recognition. So you can actually wear the T-shirt, go through a camera, which is probably any premises, and that will actually not detect you as a human going through it. So all this kind of bypass is happening, and all this is happening because somehow we find the model is flawed, right? And we find out we call it attack vector, right? Adversarial attack vectors. We created that so that that can use in real life, and I can actually bypass the system through that. So yeah, I think this is very of this is coming because it's not properly tested. And see, in security, you cannot make it 100% secure. But have you done enough testing, like
true, true.
probably enough investment to that? Because even as a tester, I can say that when I'm testing your solution, I'm giving you a report. If you ask me, can you guarantee? I cannot guarantee that is 100% secure, right? All you said that to the best of our ability, you have done the testing. Now, the question is what I'm trying to say, instead of testing by 5 engineers, 10 engineers in-house, I feel there is a need of community-based audit now, community-based testing, because now there's a larger community of AI researchers. They are all university and everywhere is there. I think this is the time where because we are creating a large-scale solution, it has to be also evaluated by a large group of audience before it put to a production. I think that gap is what I'm saying is the scale of testing has to be increased, is what I believe right now.
Right. Now, also the fact that Tamagna, I'm switching to a different dimension altogether, and I
Hmm.
think so. What happened was that first these generative AI models came on, right, and then I think everybody started building wrappers over it, and the
Right.
native agents appeared, and today we are talking about autonomous all that. But today we are also seeing that a lot of companies are going to die or already dead or dying because
Hmm.
these model companies themselves started their agent, right? So today, if you go
Yep.
to ChatGPT, you will
Hmm.
find that ChatGPT is giving you access to connect to every other.
Right.
I mean, so a lot of these agents which was creating these workflows, right, will not survive that, right? Then again, I read another scenario today, early in the morning, that ever since the reasoning models came, right, they consume more token, right, and
Yeah.
they basically spit more token, something on the consumption of tokens. So I think essentially, if we revolve around the economics of a company running an AI
Mm.
model, running an agent on top of an AI model, the economics turns around that price of one token into number of input tokens plus price of one token into number of output tokens, and all of that multiplied by the number of calls. So let's say number of calls or instances that a single user uses, or maybe multiple users. If you multiply that, that is the kind of economics that we're looking at, right? But
Mm.
that goes crazy when it comes to reasoning model, right? And that will further go
Mm.
crazy when you're talking about scalability and stuff like that, because then the reasoning model, they're optimizing it and all that. So we're talking about a lot of token consumption per se, and for
Right,
the company.
right.
And now, like Anthropic recently raised its price, I think API's price by 5x or something like that, right, for a lot of
Mm.
companies. So
Mm.
considering that fact from an economics
Mm.
standpoint, so you also see these model companies will eventually provide these security agents to all its customers on a particular day or a particular time in the future. And most of the cybersecurity companies that are basically trying to build this so-called security autonomous agents or something, they will feel the heat of it if these model companies themselves become security companies per se.
Um, Honestly speaking, I don't know. I'll tell you why. Because based on my understanding, I think most of the agents and all these people are building is actually people are more focusing on consumer focused use cases. I think the pattern I'm seeing is in the LLM space or the generative AI is more on towards, let's say, how I can capture the scale of audiences, let's say, like, the problems which is bigger and all this thing. Now, obviously, if you talk from a B2C point of view or something like that, a lot of agents were there. I think, they're creating their agents and all this is valid. But security is still little second priority is what I believe, where this is something, probably come in a later stage. Now, whether it will come or not, is it a priority for OpenAI to launch a security agent? I don't know, to be honest. Do they really see? Because I don't know what is their, unit economics, how they do a market to actually focus on that. So that part I don't know. But if that happens, to be honest, yes, definitely, because let's say tomorrow if there's a Copilot launches by, let's say, GitHub Copilot and all this thing, right? People launches and all this thing. Um, there might be some heat, but at the end of the day, it also comes to, I think, how good your product or how is the user journey and experience. So what I'm trying to say, let's say we have GitHub Copilot already was there, right? Why Lovable became so fancy or Bolt, they became so popular. Although we had all these solutions earlier, right? Because I think the focus was also, earlier people, I think they are built for two different user groups are probably focusing two different user journey. One is more from enterprise point of view. This one is more from, let's say, a solopreneur single, like, kind of thing also, right? So again, the question is how someone is building it and how these guys are actually flexible enough to change their pattern so that they still feel, sustain the market share of it. So I think it's a game of it. So I don't have a clear answer whether they will launch it or not. And second question is, if they launch it, what these other people will do, other set of companies will do. It's also they have to decide. I think at the end of the day, I see security is good, but I think people are also prioritizing user experience on top of security. So if you talk about also, I've been talking to a few of my friends who are CISO, like chief security officer in different company. I think security obviously is a complex affair, but now they are saying that how do I make security widely accepted in the organization by building something which is a better user experience. So tomorrow, if I ask you to, let's say I have 100,000 employees, if I ask everybody to download and install an antivirus, which is a very boring task, people will definitely not do it and they will procrastinate and I'll do it tomorrow. Versus if I create something which is really fancy, gamified, let's say one click install or something like that, you just tap this button, that's it. They will do it, right? So I think security world also evolving in terms of, how can I make it more intuitive, more, faster, smarter user experience so that there's a better adoption. So I think it's at the end of the day, when they're procuring a security solution also, they're looking for better user experience, how we can do faster onboarding, how it can actually, have a one-click register, easily integrate and launch like that. So as long as those solutions in place, I think this will be good. And last but not the least, security is always about also on cloud versus on premises, right? So a lot of company also they wanted to make sure that, and also a lot of time it's driven by compliances. We want to build it or host it inside our premises. I don't want to create an agent which is basically sending data somewhere else, and especially in a different geography, right? So these things also coming into the picture, that is it deployable, is it on premise, can it have a better experience, and I can have full control where I can shut it down anytime or not. So those parameters will come into the picture. It's not about only the launching an agent, but also the what is the experience around this agents is what will come.
I think I see a lot of product strategy evolution in terms of what it
Yes.
used to be. I remember at a certain point in time when I started my career, there were these API companies, right? They used to provide APIs to
Mm.
people for to banks and to different entities, right? But they would never, and they had access to all the transactional data, right? Because
Yes.
companies would use these
Right.
APIs to connect with their customers, so they had all the customer interaction data they had access to. But they never actually
Right.
went ahead and started a product company to compete with their customers, right? And then
Right.
Facebook
Right.
basically came and appeared, and then it basically allowed a lot of folks to start,
Mm.
onboard games to the Facebook platform, like Farmville and a lot of games
Mm.
became quite popular back then.
Mm.
And then suddenly one fine night they changed the algorithm because it wanted to basically create its own games, and overnight these companies died, right? So
Yep.
now
Yeah.
today
Yes.
we are seeing the same thing with model companies who are basically
Yes.
not only providing APIs to their model, but
Correct.
also collecting a lot of transactional data. And one fine day, they can very well come up with a product or a feature that can kill, that can kill all the customers they had,
Yeah.
and they themselves can do that thing. So we are moving towards that era
Yes.
where there is a rapid, I would say, a rapid evolution in terms of the product strategy, right? Because now we are seeing a convergence in terms of one company basically doing everything.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, going
Yes.
further, we are
Yes.
probably going
Yes.
to see that, and
And
that is pretty much very monopolistic,
yeah.
kind of against the free market economics that we
And
have.
it's crazy actually. It's crazy, I would say, because there are so many very. So I'll tell you one example. Recently, I came across. I found it so interesting that how could someone find a gap, and what is the s- temporality of the gap? How long this will be a gap is the question, right? So there's a company, and in fact, they are backed by YC, they're a startup. This guy, there's a young kid who is building, and I just LinkedIn or somewhere I saw the video. So they're saying that USP is, if you use, let's say, any of this white coding platform, Claude and this and that, it takes so much time to build a code. Like, when you're, let's say, you just say, give me create a website, looks like, let's say, give me a create a website, it looks like Facebook, right? Now, obviously, it's a very massive task. I understand that. Now, that takes a lot of time. Sometimes, based on my experience, if I give an instruction, I have to wait for 15 minutes, 20 minutes for it to finish it. And that's why all this token game coming into it, reasoning. It first create a one draft, and it says this draft has an error. Let me analyze and fix it. So it generates another draft of the code. Again, it is actually saying, okay, no, I know what, there is some error. And so why? So step by step, and at the end of the time, exhausting a token because of that. And also my time, which is most precious for me, 15, 20 minutes. And I have to sit in front of my computer because I don't know when it will end. So these guys, they have created a wrapper on top of it, like a mobile interface, so that, like a WhatsApp thing. You just roam around wherever you go. It will run on your computer or something like that. And from your mobile, you can track and you can just send like instructions on that. So basically, they are saying that, why this guy is wasting time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You don't have to wait. You do other work, you roam around, you travel, and then you keep letting it continue. Now, this is a performance hack, like basically, they created a solution and they got good backing from SSYC and everything. Pure play on the saying that, this models are slower, it's taking a lot of time. Now, tomorrow, if OpenAI being OpenAI or whatever it is, if they saw fix this and say that, and I think Grok Cloud is already doing Grok Sync, they're like creating this infra where things can move 10x faster and it can generate code 10x faster. Once this happens, probably nobody would need this anymore, probably, right? So I don't know. I'm just saying, there are very interesting gaps coming. People are building ventures around that. They're getting appreciated, which is brilliant. someone like him is, very smart enough to find that as a gap and build a solution. But the question is how long this is going to be a gap, and what will you do when this has been solved? Will
I
you
don't think we
pivot? Will
will.
you acquire
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all this thing?
I think we will not see a lot of legacy companies. We will not see a lot of large companies going further in
Yes.
the last next 10 years. Like we had in software, we had a Microsoft or an
I
Oracle.
think we're in an IPL world of building companies now.
Yeah,
There is no longer a test match.
pretty much, pretty much. So I think from here, I think I would like to move on to a little bit towards something which has been the been the buzz of sci-fi, and we've all grown up on these movies where nations are fighting nations, and we've heard of Stuxnet, where Israel and US got together to basically plant it in Iran's nuclear warfare and all that. And while there are talks of Target being built by US to basically support its AI ventures, and China is doing incredibly well by launching a model almost every single week. And predominantly these two nations are doing extremely well when it comes to artificial intelligence and agentic AI and
Mhm,
robotics and all those things,
mhm.
right?
Yes.
So, do you really think that? And I remember this because Samuel P. Huntington wrote a book called The Clash of the Civilization long back, right? And then he predicted that,
Mhm,
in
mhm,
50 years from now, we will have these civilizational blocks, right? And there will be a
mhm.
fight for resources, right?
Yes.
So he predicted that, and this pretty much we are doing right now. I mean, we're moving to that era where everybody is becoming very protectionist, and with Trump's tariffs and all that, we are probably entering into that world where there are different civilizational blocks, and every block will try to maintain its
Oh.
resources. Every block will try to and somehow try to create a form of globalization that works for them. Amidst this
Mm.
protectionism and amidst this kind of tide to basically safeguard its resources and all that. We've already started that. Now, AI is being not only seen as a technology, but is probably seen as an economic superpower, right? Countries are
Mm,
basically
mm.
competing on the basis of AI, right? Today,
Right.
we are way past the information era where, we would talk about information being something which countries are using to compete
Right.
with each other. We have moved in the AI era, and now AI is being
Mm.
seen as a dominant player or a force through which the economic era is being manifested, and then companies are basically fighting each other through who dominates the landscape using AI, right? So in this volatile, hostile, or you may call it like uncertain environment, what do you
Right.
see? What do you see happening from a cybersecurity standpoint in terms of nations attacking each other? We've always heard of hackers from different kind of countries trying to hack somebody else. I think India has also had a
Yes.
lot of infiltration and attacks on itself for ages now. But how do you see this entire scenario playing now that only two countries are there that are probably world leaders in terms of AI? What are your perceptions of that?
Why, man? Why? Okay, anyways. So, yeah, it's an interesting question. So we call it cyber warfare, right? Or in
Yeah,
cyber warfare and cybersecurity, there is one category of attack we call state-sponsored attacks, which is basically saying, there are large hacker communities or activists or hacker groups who are actually working like on behalf of the country to actually look for potential threats or proactively probably kind of bringing down other things. There are a lot of incidents like that in the past happened and all this thing, this kind of thing. So see, I think coming back to this, doesn't matter who is attacking whom, or is it an individual hacker, is it a group of hacker activists, state sponsored funded organizations or not. What I'm trying to say is, the modus operandi is changed drastically. Modus operandi, when I say, one is things move really fast now because of thanks to AI. People are actually building much more smarter, novel attacks. So one is the quality of existing attack vectors have improved drastically in terms of where it was earlier and how it can be more personalized, more believable, more targeted, more precise in terms of
right,
uh, so see, one thing you need to understand that when I'm trying to hack, let's say I'm trying to hack your server, it's a trial and error, right? So at the end of the day, I based on my assumption, my experience, my knowledge of your system, or in general knowledge about the system technology, and I'll try different attacks techniques, and then I'll see which one is successful or not. So which comes with, let's say, reconnaissance. First is a recon, which is like you scan the system, understand the behavior, enterprise environment, and see, okay, what potential loophole can be there, and how do it. and it takes a lot of time as a human. So when I say record, let's say if I am targeting a company which has, let's say, 10,000 servers, and each server has, let's say, 65,000 ports, so that will become my potential entry points, right? Now that become my introspector manually. Earlier, I used to do manually. We used to do a manual scan, figuring out there, see what version of software. Let's say you're running an older version of software, and then we go back and see if this is an older version of the software you're running. Let's say an FTP server, and that server, because it's older version, there was some kind of vulnerabilities already exist, which was fixed in the later version, but you probably haven't upgraded your system. But that entire process of analysis was manual, and it takes a lot of time. Sometimes, when you talk about large scale attack like this kind of, so let's say, if you remember the Stuxnet days and all this thing happened, right? Probably a attack which was planned for years, right? It was activated now, but then, investigation happened. They realized that this was started maybe planting the seed 1.5 year back to actually, come to where it is, which is brilliant because someone has to thought through that strategy so way ahead of time. So I think the vision was there, execution was very slow. Now it's the other way. Now instant gratification is the word of now things can build really fast, quickly. Also, this all this manual effort of scanning, evaluation, all this can be automated now. The agents can do it really fast. And looking into that, what, okay, whatever you are doing like 2 hours can be done in 2 minutes. Probably an agent can do it. So that way things move really fast. Now, obviously, the other side, we call red team and blue team, right? So the people who are attacking is one side is definitely moving. So quality of attack, the speed of attack, all become really fast. Same as the blue side also, people are actually trying to improve that. Okay, can I do, if I was monitoring, let's say 100,000 anomaly traffic today, can I scale it up to 100 million using agents, right? So people are doing that. Also, now because I know that you're using an agent to create a gatekeeper, become instead of a human, now there's novel attack is coming, which means I can try to say, can I do a jailbreaking kind of thing? And I know that if this agent has a problem, instead of a human, now I know there's an agent is doing a gatekeeper. Can I try to create a novel attack which will break the agents, like breaking another software at the end of the day, right? So there's novel attack techniques also is coming. So essentially, it become the way I try to say it. The game is very interesting now. As I say, it is IPL world of attacks and defend. I would say things are very fast. Things moving. People are actually doing things. There are kind of I would say the different kind of attacks coming, which is we haven't thought that this could exist or this could possibly be there earlier. Right? Obviously, I'm not into malware space, but even in the malware side of it, people actually build like malicious software and you send it there, it plants and it become like, it get activated on certain things like that. So a lot of this has changed and, is be like very aggressive right now, is I would say. The other thing is, I would say a lot of again, it's not an AI and AI and blockchain and crypto, all this together. If you say right, if you make it that way, things have become large scale and global now because now traceability also become a challenge now. It's not only about the attack, but if the attack happens, can I trace it back and all those things? It's become a challenge because a lot of these things now have a privacy or technologies is there which can hide your track and all this stuff. So that thing earlier wasn't there, right? Ransomware paying crypto. This becomes a thing right now. It was there from the Silk Route days. It was there, but it was not that popular. Now it become very popular, very easily available. Right, so many different kind of things are happening. So those things are there, and I mean, this is a different direction of security. I will taking it, but now I think AI and blockchain and crypto is now all merging. There are countries also moving to digital currencies and all these things, and without knowing that, there's a lot of problems. Security aspect is not yet captured, but now the problem is if you kind of transfer everything to let's say a digital currency and tomorrow a smart contract get hacked. No, I know we're seeing that kind of incident happening in terms of large scale millions dollars hacks is happening on the Web3 world, and money is getting stolen. And the problem here is you cannot trace it back. You don't know who has taken the money and how it is happening. So that become it more difficult in terms of happening. So long story short, I would say the speed of attack is improved, quality of existing attack vectors have improved, new kind of attack, novel attack vectors we are seeing. Third is we call it incident handling or investigation aspect of if something happened, can we investigate and figure it out, how it happened, who is involved in behind the thing. That also has kind of become very difficult in terms of tracing and investigation. So that's in a nutshell, I can say is difficult. And obviously, as a result, a lot of people are getting benefited out of it.
Fair point. Fair point. I think it's scary. I mean, future looks really scary actually when it comes to cybersecurity per se. As far as countries are fighting to kind of maintain control and all that. But now moving to a completely different field altogether, I think I'm going to again merge a bunch of questions because they're kind of similar. But if you look at the cybersecurity career landscape, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I remember back in those days when I passed out, then there with these ISCO certifications, right, which will basically
Mm.
TNS, CCSP,
Mm.
a lot of certificates. A lot of people would go ahead and do some white hacker course, something like that,
Right.
white hacker course.
Mm.
I've seen all of those things, and then I eventually moved to software development. It was a different field. I was not into
Mm.
networking particularly, which again graduates towards hacking and all that.
Mm.
I'm told Edward Snowden basically got trained in Delhi, which is what makes me proud. But having said that, I think a couple of questions here is that in this current landscape that is
Mm.
evolving, right?
Mm. Mm.
What are the different kind of jobs that you see in cybersecurity? Do you, and I'm just guessing that maybe there's going to be a job called cybersecurity product manager. Maybe there's going to be a job
Mm.
called a cybersecurity forensic analyst, right? Somebody in the lines of, Jack Ryan, right? Let's say Jack Ryan kind of a guy who basically
Mm.
understands cybersecurity that well. And
Mm.
what do you see happening to the food chain in terms of the new jobs that will pop out in this AI era? And you said something interesting, which is said that AI and blockchain and
Mm.
Web3 all of will sort of merge in a way where you will basically
Yes.
see them merging or kind of amalgamation of these technologies to create
Right.
end products, right? So keeping all of that in
Yeah.
mind, for folks who plan to build a career in cybersecurity, either they are aspirants or they are professionals who want to move towards cybersecurity. There could be many
Mm.
kinds of people. What do you see? What is your advice to them based on the kind of jobs that will be created and the kind of jobs that will be destroyed also as a result? You can't ignore that phenomenon. Okay, so keeping all of that in mind,
Yes.
it's sort of scary. It's frightening to a lot of folks. I
Yeah.
did a TV show yesterday, and I basically spoke about the same that how our jobs going
Mm.
to die. Where I
Mm.
used the word mass displacement in terms of in place
Mm.
of instead of using the word replacement, I use mass displacement, which
Mm.
is going to happen in some way or the other. So keeping that in mind, what is your take on all of this?
So, I think, yeah, you're right. There will be reshuffle. There will be reorg aspect, and which we're already seeing that happening, right? Companies are reducing their, headcounts, resources, and stuff like that is happening. So, couple of things here. I think low hanging fruits. So, there are a couple of we say. I think because of AI, the lot of things will be which is offered as a service today, or probably uh, to some extent niche skills, I would say, will be commoditized. So when I say that, it's more of like, let's talk about this analyst. Like there's one area of security analyst. Their job is to look into this like security operations, SOC, NOC, we call it, Network Operations Center. Day and out, there's a shifting jobs. Like, every shift we will work on day shift, night shift. Their job is to look into the traffic coming or, see any anomalies happening. There are tools which is actually detecting it and probably identifying do it. So, and then you manually look into it, take actions, and blah blah blah. So I think a lot of this kind of, I mean, it's my personal opinion again, and I don't know whether it will be true or not. So let's say L1 support, or which is basically, let's say, L2, probably to some extent, right? That lot of this part can be, which is a junior level. So as I said, AI agents right now is an intern level or probably a junior level kind of, coder or engineer and all this thing. So whatever is junior level thing will be replaced. What has been done or expectation from them to do. Now, what does that mean? Then the thing is, does it mean that if I'm studying in a college, will I not get a job because I'm a fresher, right? Until I work somewhere, how will I become an experience, right? So I believe that there is a need of a new kind of role called orchestrator. So when I say orchestrator, I mean it is more of like, okay, you need to know the basics of L1, L2, let's say I want to do this and that. But more than that, you become an expert of how to leverage this agent, how to leverage these tools. and be an expert on that. So let's say I have Lovable, I have Cloud Code, I have GitHub Enterprise, all those things. Now you become a master of that. Okay, which one is better at what use cases, so that I know if I have to do a front end thing, probably let's use this tool and build it quickly. Versus if I have to do like a backend API, probably I don't know, Cloud Code would probably be a good thing to build it and quickly for that, like that. So I think that way I see we need someone who will understand. You have to take a one step ahead of say, okay, let's first learn the basics of this techniques, be it security pen testing, penetration testing, or security audit, and then you have to take one step further to see, okay, I need to also understand what are the agents are available today who are doing it, and can I know how to run this agent, orchestrate them, manage them well, and drive it. So I think that is one, I think is the first level is coming. Second is a strategy level. There is the security advisories. People come like, like I also kind of advise at times, to companies as a virtual CISO, saying that what should be your security roadmap strategy. Now tomorrow, a agent, you can actually create a CISO agent, feed in all your tech and say, "Okay, give me a security roadmap strategy." That is also is done. But I think then now we have to take a one step back and say that, okay, there are five different tools can building five different strategy for me. Now, how do I know which one is the best possible option among them, right? So again, in every layer, I think you need to be aligned. So it's like calculator. When it's inverted, obviously say that it will go like or computer. You have to learn this as a skill and you have to adapt it as part of your job so that you do it faster and more efficient way is what I'm thinking. Like that's how I see it. So in terms of role, entry level, obviously, you need to. So okay, so there are new roles are coming. AI security is a new role that was not there earlier. Someone knows prompt injection, someone knows jailbreak, and actually use this for AI security audit. That those kind of things was not there. So those are the new roles are coming. Coming back to existing product security role or something like that, I think at a basic level you have to know how to do pen testing and then use this kind of tools. That give a brownie point for you to become a good job there. Third thing is, I would say, I think now there's a product management aspect also in AI, because a lot of people are now trying to build with the help of agent, build in-house products. So I see that security engineering is becoming a priority now, which is basically more of like, okay, think of it's not that you're building, you're just doing a security testing or something like that, but you will come wear a product manager hat, and say how to productize it. You have multiple agents, but how do you actually create something around that as a shape of product which the organization can be used? So I think security product management is something I feel could be a relevant role, which is a good thing. And I think another interesting thing is, I would say personally, I feel is there is evangelist point of view. Like a lot of this AI evangelist coming, which is advising companies to how to adapt AI and enter, let's say, enterprise ecosystem stuff like that. Same way, I think security AI evangelism is could be another area where you can actually say a lot of companies are still figuring it out what kind of tool I should use, how to build my security strategy around these tools and stuff. Someone has come in as an expert and guide that, tell that, okay, you should use this ABC thing, all these things. And that is something another interesting role I think is coming, like security AI advisory, something like that. So that I can think of.
Right. So I think what would be your one piece of advice to founders who are building these
Uh-huh.
AI cybersecurity products, right? I mean, what would you basically advise them? So basically, so let's create a dichotomy. Uh, what
Hmm.
is your advice to folks building AI products in terms of cybersecurity? And number two, what is your advice to folks building cybersecurity AI products, right? Or AI product or cybersecurity products for AI, whichever the case, right? So you could have a singular
Okay.
answer to that, or you could choose to have two
Yes.
different answers.
Yes. So I have a like I used to teach, like I have a course which I used to do. I've not done it for a while now. And like obviously there's a good friend of mine. He does it on his own now. It's called AI for security, security for AI.
Interesting.
Okay, so this is like a 1 2 days workshop where I teach about AI for security. Is basically if you're a security professional, how you can use AI as part of your different AI security practices and all these things, right? As I say, for example, anomaly detection and how to make your phishing detection better using AI and stuff like that. Second is security for AI is all about if you're building an AI product, AI solution, what are the things you can actually use to secure that? And as you said, I mean, I think your question is aligning with that. So if you talk about tips for from security point of view for companies who are building AI products, right? I think the first and foremost thing I would say, 80% cases I have seen, it's not audited or tested properly, and launched and production it failed miserably. So when I'm saying fail first as a startup founder, fail first is always an approach. But please take this as a moral responsibility or accountability that when you're launching something and something which is actually impacting the real life, like probably you're doing it, and kind of integrating it into a product lifestyle, which is a day-to-day impacting day-to-day lives of individuals, right? You have to be a little cautious. Don't always go fail first and focus on revenue, even if it's early days. Don't make this an excuse that it's not mandatory by compliance, so that's why I'm not doing it. Just think through it once, step back, that you could be a consumer of a solution if it fails and it could impact your life. So take security a little more seriously, which is my humble request for anybody who's building AI product. Which means do proper audits, talk to people expert. There are a lot of people like, I'm more than happy to do like pro bono, like, because I feel my life will be impacted because of that if it is not secure, right? So a lot of people are open for collaboration, support, and guidance and advisory. So do that. Accept the fact that you're not secured, and let's open up and let's talk about it. Create a platform. That's security tech seriously. That's number one. Second is, and depending on AI product, if you're LLM, there's a different kind of security you need. If you're building a computer vision model, you need different kind of. So you need to talk to the right expert also, right? So that's another thing. Now, so AI for security, people who are in security professions, someone like me, who are actually using AI. I think that is that's been happening now. Obviously, is we are more skeptical, by the way, right? So we actually don't take anything, but just by the word, right? We wanted to evaluate. So basically, we have a word, and that's what I think all the security professional knows. And same thing applies to the AI aspect also, is trust but verify, which is basically, if someone is bringing an AI solution saying, I have built an amazing AI product, a security product using my AI, which will, let's say, do this ABC thing, block all attacks, let's say, to your computer. Okay, I trust what you say, but I need to prove, I need to verify that. So trust but verify is the basic principle you should follow in any kind of security, is what I say.
Yeah, I mean, very ironical that the Intel founder once remarked and even wrote a book called "Only the Paranoid Survive." But apparently, even the paranoids are not surviving in the AI era, right? So when it comes to companies and larger
Yes.
organizations, but I think I would like to conclude this session by asking you like a very light-hearted question, which is
Mhm.
like, how do you keep yourself so up to date? What are the kind of books you read, what are the kind of courses you do, or the blogs or the newsletters you follow, or anything that might actually be helpful to a lot of folks trying to build their career in cybersecurity, or maybe shifting gears towards cybersecurity, or anybody in general who wants to basically understand cybersecurity in a little detail. What is that
Mhm.
thing that you should do in order to keep pace with the fluctuating technology in this era, which is probably like every day there's a new model being that's the talk. That's what the
Right.
grapevine is like with. What would you suggest and recommend to go for?
Yeah. So I think thanks for asking that. And I have a confession to make on that. Is We are in the era of instant gratification. So although I used to be a bookworm, unfortunately nowadays I don't read much about books. I wish I really want to do it, but again I got spoiled because of all the platforms and all this thing, right? And always I also wanted to do faster things, right? I wanted to learn really quick. So for me, personally, what is working is community. So I am more of a community, and I believe learning together is a way which works for me better. So
Okay.
what does that mean is, obviously, if I want to learn something, as I try to find out who else is working on that. Let's get socialized with them. Let's have a conversation, how you are doing, or what is the way you are learning, and let's learn from each other. Because when that happens, I'm very surrounded by the group of people who are doing similar thing. Instead of reading a book which gives you a one kind of category of opinion, you get like five different ways of probably solving the problem, right? So that is something I felt better. And through the process, it's more fun because you interact, you talk, you get to know the person, you build a relation, and all these things. So community-based learning is something I believe. So we have a cybersecurity, our own community. We do meetups where people talk about presenting something they're learning, they share, and we go and we actually learn from there like that. And the other thing is, which I personally also do is, if I want to learn something, I somehow, somewhere try to commit to teach that. So, because I feel that, if I learn by myself, I may not be learning enough, but if I know that I have to teach somebody, then I will have to learn enough so that I am confident enough to teach you, right? So that gives you a better learning. So obviously, oh, because we're running too many things, being a founder and all this thing, it's reduced. But these are the two ways always I try to run. So coming back to your answer, unfortunately, books are not my area right now. I'm more believe in or follower or fan of community-based learning. Of let's be associated with the right kind of people with the same space and learn from each other by doing things. And when I say by doing things, teaching is one way of making sure that you are doing the right thing so that you can teach somebody else. So that's how I do it. So there are a lot of forums are there, a lot of content, and there will be always people will be looking up to you. And no, doesn't matter if you mess up. Weeks. I don't go there as I say that I am an expert in that. I say I am learning, and whatever I'm learning, I want to share. So be very humble and teach it. But I think this is the way I see that the next group of learners, educators will come. And I think that's my belief right now.
Are there any specific communities in on Discord or WhatsApp or any other that you basically
Yeah,
are a
so
part
one security community which I've been associated with more than 15 years now. It's called Null, NULL. Null is a non-for-profit cybersecurity community. We started this back 15 years back in Bangalore and Pune. But I think as of now, we have chapters over 9 different countries, 34
of?
cities, and obviously, we what as part of every chapter there is a monthly meetup. So now Delhi has a chapter, Bangalore has a chapter, India different cities. So there's a moderator there, and what to do it, we actually host free of cost, nobody charges anything, event where people come socialize and we present to teach people about security various activities. It could be AI security, blockchain security, this, that, everything and everything. And it's volunteer driven. So and we always encourage there at the end of every meetup session, we say that, what, whoever is present as an audience, you tell us what you want to learn from the next session. So that way we get a retention. We say that you tell me what you want to learn. And let's say somebody says, I want to learn probably the prompt injection attack. Then we ask people who can actually, so in the community only, who can actually deliver the talk. So it's not that I am owning it. We actually drive by the community. If nobody is there, the person who wants to learn, we ask them, why don't you have a 30 days time? Why don't you learn enough so that you can come back and present next month? So that's how we try to communicate and encourage more, about learning and teaching and
Right,
supporting kind of thing. So that's
right.
what yeah, that's one of the community I'm part of. And then there are a few other community also on a country specific and all this. So is there, but I think this is something OWASP is another community, Open Web Application Security Project. They have different chapters in different cities, so you can look into that. Who talks about AI security, application security, and stuff like that.
Well, thank you for that, Tamaghna. I think I had basically decided that I would wrap it up in like an hour. This is what I told you. But then, once you get hold of somebody like Tamaghna, who's difficult to get hold of, you can't stop yourself from asking as many questions as possible. But I think it's good for the greater benefit of the community, good for the benefit of a lot of folks who want to get into cybersecurity. Whatever you have spoken today, will probably be taken in utmost seriousness by a lot of folks who want to carve out a career in this. But having said that, I think it was, as usual, always wonderful to have you on the podcast. And we kind of speak a lot and we kind of joke a lot, sometimes lenient, sometimes serious. But I think this was one of the best conversations I've had on cybersecurity in the last 22 years of my life. And it was pleasure actually talking to you and kind of picking your brains on a lot of topics that I had in my mind, and I'm sure it will be hugely beneficial to a lot of folks in the wider diaspora. But thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of it and on such short notice, and also trying to sort of sort out your work for like an hour or so that you can be a part of this. Thank you so much, and
No worries.
real thanks from the bottom of my heart to be a part. this so-called podcast. Thank you so much, Taman.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Saurabh. And I really enjoyed this. And after a long time, I feel like a breather. Like, दिल खोल के बात करने वाला होता है ना.
Yes,
We were just talking, very candid chat. We are so busy in our life, we hardly get time to have this kind of conversation. So I'm glad that
absolutely,
you're doing
absolutely.
this.
It was
And, I'm
it was very
glad to be a part of
enchanting
it.
and very, very wonderful. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.